must have been another country. Yes, it must have been another land. That couldn't happen in the USA. We'd never treat a man that way. Oh, I know we'd never treat a man that way.
Your orders are to stop Merconi. Merconi must not reach his destination. Do you understand? Don't screw this up! My name is Michael Merconi. Everyone calls me Merconi. What I'm about to share with you will expose a high-level New World Order secret government that operates in the shadows that most Americans are not even aware of. It is an organization that honors no borders and operates throughout the world. This secret organization conducts illegal surveillance operations against unsuspecting citizens like you and me. This is where my story begins. A woman kisses Michael Merconi goodbye, then gets back in her car and waves as she drives away. Michael Merconi enters the front door of the Greyhound bus terminal. He approaches a counter carrying 2 suitcases, wearing a blue backpack. Michael Merconi, age 55, with olive complexion, with medium brown hair, with a touch of gray, places the suitcases at his feet next to the counter and waits for the ticket agent to acknowledge him. The ticket agent is an older woman, age 50, with short brown hair, with glasses, wearing a Greyhound uniform, politely smiles at Michael Merconi before she asks, "How may I help you this morning?" Michael then answers, "I'd like to purchase a one-way ticket to the Port Authority Terminal in New York City." "Okay, when do you want to leave?" "I just got word that my mother and brother are both in the hospital. I'd like to leave this morning." "The next bus will be arriving in half an hour. It'll be here in Olympia at 9 a.m. The one-way fare to New York City is $239, plus an additional $5 extra for each piece of luggage." "That'll be fine. I have 2 suitcases I'd like to have put under the coach." That will be a total of $249. Merconi goes into his wallet and pays the money to the ticket attendant. Merconi then asks, "When will I be arriving in New York City?" "You'll be arriving in New York on Thursday, December 4th at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. You will be stopping in Portland, Salt Lake City, Denver, Chicago, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia." "Thursday afternoon? Okay." Ticket agent now asked, "What is your name, sir?" "The name is Merconi, Anthony." The ticket agent hands Michael Merconi the Greyhound packet containing tickets and identification tags for his luggage. "Thanks." The ticket agent answers, "You're welcome." Michael Merconi puts his Greyhound ticket packet in his inside coat pocket. He then picks up his bags and walks over to an empty seat where he sits down and then attaches the identification tags to his luggage. 2 young men in their late 20s approach the counter. The ticket agent asks the men where they're going. The taller man, named John Flynn, with blonde hair, sporting an Anaheim Angels baseball cap, wearing a long beige trench coat, turns and looks back at Michael Merconi before speaking. "I'd like to purchase 2 one-way tickets to New York City." The ticket agent then answers, "The next bus will be arriving in 10 minutes. The man with the baseball cap goes into his wallet and counts the money before handing it to the ticket agent. The ticket agent now asks, "What is your name, sir?" The man in the cap turns and looks again at Michael Merconi before answering, "My name is John Flynn. My brother's name is Greg Flynn." The ticket agent now asks, "Do you have any luggage to go under the coach, Mr. Flynn?" "No. All I have is a carry-on bag." The ticket agent now walks out from behind the counter as the bus pulls into the terminal. The ticket agent can now be heard shouting, "The bus heading south for Portland, Oregon is here. Because there's only a limited amount of seating, I will call out the names of the passengers who will be boarding this bus. Wilson, Saunders, Anthony, Marcus, and Flynn make a line right here in front of me." Michael Merconi picks up his luggage and stands in line. He notices John Flynn and his brother at the back of the line, staring at him with a confused look on their faces. The ticket agent then adds, "Please place your bag next to the bus and the driver will put it under the coach." All of the passengers now exit the terminal, and the bus driver checks each passenger's ticket. Michael Merconi places his luggage next to the bus. John Flynn leans over, checking the tag on Michael Merconi's bags. Merconi observes John Flynn checking out his bags. The bus driver allows the passengers to board. Merconi sits in the front seat next to the bus driver and looks back at the men as they board the bus and head towards the rear of the bus. The bus driver, a black man aged 60 with glasses, removes a black suitcase from the seat next to Merconi and places it in the overhead compartment. "I'm going to put my things in the overhead. The front seat is usually reserved for the driver." Merconi answers, "Thank you." The bus driver waits until everyone is seated before he departs the Olympia Greyhound bus terminal. Michael Merconi puts on his glasses and takes out a book to read. The Greyhound bus heads south on Interstate 5, and about 20 minutes later, the bus stops in Centralia, Washington. The bus driver picks up a young female passenger. The passenger places her bag in the overhead and sits next to Merconi. Bus driver pulls away from the Centralia station, and he heads south on Interstate 5 towards Portland. The loudspeaker is now turned on by the bus driver. "I have to make a quick stop. Please do not leave the bus. The Greyhound bus pulls off at the Tenet Washington exit." The bus driver exits the bus and enters the Greyhound station. Within a matter of seconds, the driver returns and starts the bus. As the driver prepares to pull away, Merconi notices a white man running towards the bus. Merconi alerts the driver to the passenger. "Excuse me, driver, there's a man trying to catch the bus." The bus driver opens the door for the man to enter the bus. The sportsman, age 40, with brown hair, wearing a fishing hat and wearing a loose-fitting shirt with baggy pants, out of breath, asks the driver a question. "Is this bus going to Portland, Oregon?" The man now observes the passengers as he talks to the driver. The bus driver now answers, "This bus is full. You'll have to wait for the next bus." "What time is the next bus?" The bus driver answers, "The next bus will be arriving at 9 p.m. The bus driver now closes the door of the bus. The man is seen talking with two men in front of the station. Michael Merconi observes the three men through the bus window. The bus driver shakes his head as he prepares to start the bus. "I just told that guy in the station that this bus was full." "I think he wanted to see who was on the bus," Merconi answered. "There was something weird about that guy." "He did look a little weird in that strange hat, didn't he?" answered Merconi. "That guy was one of the weirdest passengers who ever tried to get on my bus." As the bus pulled away, I took one last look at the mysterious stranger. I recognized him immediately. He was the same man who I had encountered 5 months earlier in a sub shop in downtown Olympia, Washington, which nearly cost me my life. I swore I would never forget his face. The two men who were following me weren't sure of my true identity. They were confused when I answered to the name Anthony. That would explain why one of the men walked over and checked the name tag on my luggage. Luckily for me, the last available seat next to me on the bus was taken by a girl at the previous stop in Centralia, Washington. Greyhound bus the following morning. As I wiped the sleep from my eyes, I took a look at my watch. It was 6 a.m. Pacific time. The bus had driven through the state of Oregon and Idaho during the night. We had changed buses in Portland. I took a seat near the rear of the bus so I could keep an eye on the Flynn brothers. I then looked out of the passenger window and observed a black helicopter following the bus. I had been followed by helicopters for the past 6 months. My mind flashed back to the first time that I observed a helicopter shadowing me. Brooklyn, New York, 6 months earlier. Michael Merconi is walking down Flushing Avenue when he observes a black helicopter flying overhead. The black helicopter follows Merconi for 3 city blocks. Michael Merconi's thoughts are interrupted when the loudspeaker on the bus is turned on for the driver to make an announcement. We will be arriving in Salt Lake City. There will be a 30-minute layover here. Please use the reboarding pass to get back on the bus. Merconi now takes a look out the window and watches as the bus moves down Interstate 80 heading east, and watches as cars move alongside of the bus towards the city limits of Salt Lake City. Just at that moment he looks up and notices a black helicopter flying alongside of the bus. The Greyhound bus now exits the interstate and heads towards the terminal. Salt Lake City Greyhound bus terminal. Merconi looks around as the passengers exit the bus. In the Salt Lake City terminal, Merconi waits until all the passengers exit the bus before entering the terminal. I headed toward a coffee machine and put $1 into the dispenser. As I waited for the coffee, I noticed that one of the Flynn brothers was watching me. I calmly grabbed the coffee and headed over to a seat near a window. I looked outside the terminal window and noticed it was now beginning to snow. After finishing my coffee, I headed outside and waited near the bus. Greg Flynn told me that he had missed a ride with a guy who was going to dig up an ancient treasure. That's when I knew these guys were following me. They knew the specific reason for my trip to the Pacific Northwest. I came out from the East Coast to search for a hidden tunnel that a prospector named J.C. Brown claimed was under Mount Shasta in California. I could see that both of the men, the Flynn brothers, were keeping close tabs on me. I noticed that the older brother wearing a headset and was carrying what appeared to be a shortwave radio. He was in communication with someone. As I waited to get back on the bus, I noticed Greg Flynn talking to a man in an army uniform. The military man had been on the bus before I boarded in Olympia, Washington. I wasn't sure if the soldier was part of the plan. I had a long ride ahead of me. There was still 3 more days to travel on the bus before I got to New York. I would keep my eyes on this man as well. The passengers now reboard the bus. After settling in on the bus, I noticed that the younger brother Greg was now sitting next to the young soldier. I then focused on the older Flynn brother talking on his 2-way radio. When he realized that I was watching him, he gave me a dirty look. I hoped that my next encounter with this guy wouldn't be while I was trying to take a dump. Woody Wilcox, a white man aged 23, wearing a green army uniform carrying a matching backpack, gets up from his seat and walks to the rear of the bus. He stops when he notices that the seat next to Merconi is vacant. "Is anyone sitting in the empty seat?" "No, the seat is empty," answers Merconi. "Would you mind if I sit here?" No, not at all. Go right ahead." Merconi gets up from his seat and moves to the window seat. The young soldier sits down in the aisle seat and puts his backpack on the floor next to his feet. John Flynn gets up from his seat and walks towards the back of the bus. When he reaches the aisle where the soldier is now seated, he leans over to talk to the soldier. "What's the matter, soldier boy? You don't want to sit in the front with us? You're a traitor." Woody Wilcox remains silent and pays little attention to the snide remark. John Flynn returns to his seat in the front of the bus. Merconi now asked, "What was that all about, soldier?" "I needed to get away from those 2 guys up front." "Those are some strong words. Why did he call you a traitor?" "I guess he knows I'm AWOL from Fort Lewis." "So you're running away from the army?" "Yeah." "What's your name, soldier?" "My name is Woody Wilcox." "My name's Michael Merconi." "It's a pleasure to meet you." Michael Merconi and Woody Wilcox now shake hands. "If you don't mind me asking, why are you leaving the army and going AWOL?" "I'm going AWOL because the army recruiters lied to me. They promised me $10,000. They said I'd get the money after I completed 6 months of basic training." "There's got to be more to the story than that." The soldier pauses before answering the question. "Yes, there is." The soldier takes off his cap and turns to show Merconi an abrasion on the right side of his head. Merconi leans over to get a closer look at the soldier's head. "Do you see this small bruise?" "Yes, it looks like a rash." "It's a microchip. Give me your finger. You can feel it." Merconi takes his index finger and feels the abrasion on the soldier's temple. There is definitely something floating underneath the skin. "They told me I was going in for minor surgery before going over to Iraq. When I woke up after the surgery, I had this little lump on the side of my head. I had a headache for over a week. When I told the doctor about it, he said the pain would go away." This shit is stranger than fiction. The American people would never believe it. "I'm going home to have an x-ray taken of my head." That sort of explains why Flynn made the traitor comment. "There's no way I want to spend the next 6 years in Iraq." "Well, you know, Woody, the Army has a lot invested in you. If what you say is true, they're going to find you." "They won't know I'm gone till tomorrow." "Well, Woody, if you have a cell phone, you need to get rid of it. It's a tracking device." The young soldier takes his cell phone from his pocket. "Woody, the first thing you need to do is take the battery out of the phone so they can't listen to your conversations. By taking out the battery, they will have no way of tracking the cell side signal and know exactly where you are." The young soldier opens the back of his cell phone and takes out the battery. "Thanks, Merconi. I didn't know that." "Good, now we can talk. Do you have any military identification on you?" The soldier pulls out a military identification that has his picture and a digital chip embedded in the card. "Woody, you'll need to get rid of that card immediately." The soldier tears up the card into little pieces. "I'll be changing buses in Denver." "Where are you headed, Woody?" "I'll be going to Alabama to see a doctor to have this digital chip removed from my forehead." "Well, Woody, I think we should both try and get some rest." "Yeah, I think you're right. I'll talk to you later, Merconi." I sat back in my chair and closed my eyes and processed the information the soldier had just given me. The bus was now heading east towards Denver, Colorado. It was now beginning to snow very heavily. Driving conditions were becoming hazardous. The bus was now traveling at approximately 40 miles per hour. I decided it was time to take a nap. There was nothing I could do. We drove almost non-stop for the next 12 hours, only taking short breaks along the way. I spent all of my time resting on the bus. The ride was making my ass hurt. My ass was getting sore. The loudspeaker in the bus now comes on, and the driver prepares himself to make an announcement. "We'll be arriving in Denver, Colorado in a few minutes. Everyone will be changing buses here. Please take all of your belongings with you. Make sure you have your ticket with you. For all of you passengers who are ending your trips here in Denver, thank you for riding Greyhound. For everyone else on board this coach, please see me outside of the coach. I will direct you to where you need to go." Merconi and the young soldier wait until all the passengers exit the bus. When the Flynn brothers enter the terminal, Merconi and the soldier gather their possessions. "Woody, when you get into the terminal, go straight to your bus and don't look back." "I will. I think those guys have been following you. You better be careful, Michael." "I suspected that. I've got 2 more days on the bus before I get to New York." "Well, Michael, I'd like to call you to make sure you get home all right." Michael and Woody exchanged phone numbers before saying goodbye. Michael Merconi now walks into the busy Denver Greyhound terminal. Denver, Colorado Greyhound bus terminal. Hundreds of people are seen walking around the terminal. As Merconi looks around the terminal, he can see people standing on lines with bags, women sitting in the terminal with their children, and vending machines in the background. After the long trip on the bus, I needed to find a restroom. I noticed a restroom sign posted at the far end of the terminal. I began walking quickly towards it. On the way to the restroom, I noticed from the corner of my eye that one of the Flynn brothers was following me. The young man smiles as he walks alongside of me. I then took a good look at the young man. I prepared myself for the young man's bullshit pitch. I was glad that I was wearing boots. Greg Flynn was a young white man, approximately age 25, with blonde short hair, with blue eyes, standing about 6 foot tall, wearing a dark winter coat and a brown khaki pair of pants. "Hi, my name's Greg. I'm going to New York. Where are you going?" Merconi picks up his walking pace before answering. "I'm going to the bathroom." Merconi enters the restroom and walks over to the urinal to relieve himself. The young man walks over to the sink and washes his hands. After washing his hands, he turns to start another conversation with Merconi. "I've never been to New York City before. I hear it's a great place to party." Merconi is still draining the fluid out of his body and pays no attention to Greg Flynn's comment. The man is determined to engage Merconi in a conversation to answer his questions. "Are you going to New York?" "I'm going to Chicago." "Chicago? I've never been to Chicago. Do you have family there?" "Yes, I do." "How long are you staying in Chicago?" "If you want to ask me any more questions, you're going to have to buy a vowel. Now, if you excuse me, I like to wash my hands." "It was nice meeting you." "Yeah, right." Greg Flynn smiles and leaves the bathroom. Merconi turns on the faucet to the sink and washes his hands and face. Merconi pulls a comb from his pocket and combs his hair while looking in the mirror. Merconi then takes a moment to reflect on the recent encounter in the bathroom. Merconi thinking out loud. "Nice meeting you. Yeah, right. Like I'm going to tell someone that I met a really nice guy named Greg Flynn while taking a piss in a bathroom in a bus terminal in Denver, Colorado." The entire time I'm relieving myself, I was thinking, what if this guy tries to attack me? I didn't want to end up on the 6 o'clock news. I wasn't going to be remembered like Light and the Loafers Senator Larry Craig. If I was going to be taken out, it was going to be on my own terms. Merconi leaves the restroom and heads over to the McDonald's in the terminal to get something to eat. Merconi stands online, then studies the menu and orders from the clerk. He then pays for his meal, and the clerk immediately comes back with his food on a tray. Merconi finds a seat in the corner and starts eating his meal. Merconi quickly finishes his meal and then walks back and gets online to board the next bus. Merconi now studies the terminal but sees no signs of Woody Wilcox. Once online, Merconi's mind begins to race. Was he telling me the truth? Your guess was as good as mine. The bruises on the side of his head were real. I felt something under the skin just below the hairline that was definitely something floating under his skin. Merconi's thoughts are now interrupted as he spots the Flynn brothers standing on a different line. They were going to be boarding another bus that was also headed to Chicago via the state of Kansas. Merconi's bus would travel through the state of Nebraska to get to Chicago. Merconi again thinking out loud. I was breathing a sigh of relief for a moment, but I still had a great distance to travel before I got to New York. As I waited to board the next bus, a thought occurred to me. Why weren't the Flynn brothers on my bus? I knew they were following me, but why had we split up? I knew their final destination was New York. I watched as the Flynn brothers boarded their bus. My bus would depart approximately 20 minutes later from the Denver terminal. Greyhound bus, December 3rd, North Platte, Nebraska. The time is 2 a.m. in the morning. It is snowing heavily. It is dark on the bus. Nearly everyone on the bus is sleeping. Merconi is awakened by the jerking motion of the bus. Merconi can see a black SUV cutting off a tractor trailer. The tractor trailer swerves to the right, slows down to avoid hitting the vehicle. A second vehicle now cuts in front of our bus and jams on its brakes. The bus swerves to avoid hitting the tractor trailer. The tractor trailer loses control and flips over. The bus driver jams on the brakes and changes lanes. The black SUV now cuts in front of the bus, trying to force the bus off the road. The bus driver slams on his brakes and slows the bus down. The bus driver can now be heard yelling, "These guys are nuts! They're trying to kill us!" A passenger near the front of the bus can be heard shouting, "They purposely forced the tractor-trailer off the road!" Everyone on the bus is now wide awake. The passengers are all nervously chattering throughout the bus. The driver can be seen talking on his cell phone and calling his superiors, informing them of the near-fatal accident. Michael Merconi again thinking out loud. I was able to see the tractor-trailer flipping over on its side. I only caught a quick glimpse of the two vehicles before the cars sped away. The bus driver did an amazing job of avoiding the tractor-trailer. I realize now why the Flynn brothers were not on the bus. I was supposed to die in a staged accident. I took out my journal and documented the event and wrote these words. I'm writing this script. I'm writing the ending, and my life isn't over until I say it's over. And the more stuff they throw at me, the more stuff I write in my typewriter. I plan to expose them. Greyhound Bus Terminal, Chicago, Illinois, 7 p.m., December 3rd. All the passengers exit the bus and enter the terminal. Merconi walks to the back of the coach and picks up his luggage. On the way into the terminal, he passes the bus driver and stops to talk to the driver. I'd like to thank you for getting us to Chicago safely. The bus driver, visibly nervous, answers, "You're welcome." Merconi then picks up his bags and enters the Chicago Greyhound bus terminal. Once in the terminal, Merconi can see it is crowded with people walking all around, with women and children sitting in the terminal. There are people standing on lines at boarding gates with their luggage. Many people are waiting for their transportation home. Merconi walks over to the customer service area and waits on a line to speak to someone at the desk to get information on his connecting bus to New York. Merconi waits patiently in line until it's his turn, and then he approaches the counter. Merconi now nervously asks, "I'd like to know if I can still catch the 7 p.m. bus to New York City." The customer service agent now looks down at a piece of paper and answers, "I'm sorry, sir, but the 7 p.m. bus has already left the terminal." Merconi now gains his composure before he asks the following question. "Can you tell me when I can catch the next bus to Port Authority in New York City?" The customer service agent again checks the schedule. The next bus will be departing at 11 p.m. at gate number 8. Merconi now visibly upset. "Wow, that's a 4-hour wait." "Thanks." Merconi leaves the customer service area and carries his luggage over to gate number 8 and stands near the head of the line. At the front of the line is a white man, age 35, wearing a New York Yankees baseball cap that starts a conversation with Merconi. "We almost got killed last night. There were 2 vehicles that purposely tried causing us to have an accident." "Yes, I saw that," Merconi answered. "I was sitting in the front of the bus near the driver when it happened." "Yes, you're right. We could have all died, and most of the passengers who were asleep would have never known what happened." "The bus driver was very upset. He and I talked for most of the night." A few of the passengers on line nodded in agreement. I made sure to thank the driver for having the presence of mind to get us all here safely. "Oh, my name is Bobby Rods. I'm from Buffalo." "My name is Michael Merconi. I'm from New York City. It's a pleasure to meet you." Michael Merconi and Bobby Rods now shake hands. "I can't believe we missed our bus by 10 minutes. It's going to add another 12 hours of my trip." "With all this bad weather we've been having, Bobby, I was hoping they would have held the bus at least a few minutes longer." Michael Merconi is now distracted by the sight of the Flynn brothers. John Flynn stares directly at Merconi. He then talks to his brother and points out Merconi. "Do you know those guys?" Michael Merconi and Bobby Rods stare back at the Flynn brothers. Merconi pauses for a second before he answers. "No, they got on the bus with me back in Olympia, Washington." Well, it looked a little suspicious to me. Bobby Rods and Michael Merconi observed the Flynn brothers talking to one another. John Flynn is doing all the talking. His brother Greg nods his head as though he is following orders. Greg Flynn boldly walks over to where Merconi is standing and brazenly starts a conversation. I see you're going to New York. Merconi boldly answers, yeah, it looks that way. Well, maybe I'll see you later. Merconi answers, yeah, see you later, pal. Greg Flynn walks back over to gate number 4 where his brother John is standing on line waiting to board the next bus. Luckily for you, Michael, those guys won't be on our bus. Michael Merconi now scratching his head. Man, I haven't slept very much in the last 3 days, Bobby. I know exactly how you feel. Bobby, can you watch my luggage? I like to go to the restroom. Sure, no problem. Merconi now lets out a long sigh. You know, the last time I tried to use the bathroom in Salt Lake City, I had one of the Flynn brothers follow me into the bathroom asking me questions while I was trying to take a leak. Be careful, Michael, and watch your back. Merconi now has a flashback. New York City street corner, 40 years earlier. Grandfather Merconi, approximately 75 years old with gray hair, wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and blue trousers, is holding a baseball bat. He is standing on the corner waiting for the light to change with his grandson Michael. Grandfather Merconi takes a handkerchief from his pocket and wipes the tear in young Michael's eye. Michael, I wanted you to stop a-crying. Yes, Grandpa. Grandfather Merconi places the bat in young Michael's hand. Now, Michael, I want you to go back into the park and look for the kids who beat you up. Nobody messes with a Merconi. Capiche? Young Michael waits until the light turns green before crossing the street. His grandfather stands on the corner and watches Michael as he heads back to the park. Merconi now reaches into his luggage and takes out a thick black computer cable. He makes a hangman's knot with the cable and puts the cable into his jacket pocket. Merconi now leaves the line and walks toward the restroom. Merconi enters the restroom to make a pit stop. Merconi then exits the restroom without incident a few minutes later. As Merconi walks back towards the line, he notices Greg Flynn in a nearby water fountain, bending down getting a drink of water. Merconi's blood now begins to boil. Michael calmly walks over to where Greg Flynn is standing and says, "Today must be your lucky day. You'll never know how lucky a guy you truly are." Greg Flynn is totally confused by Merconi's comments. Merconi, back online at gate number 8, watches as the Flynn brothers board their bus. Merconi now turns to Bobby Rods and says, "I hope that's the last time I see any of those two guys." Michael, those guys aren't playing with a full deck of cards. I think they're only playing with the box. Michael's Greyhound bus begins to board. Michael sits in the front of the bus next to Bobby Rods. I was planning on getting a few hours sleep, especially since I didn't have to worry about keeping an eye open for the Flynn brothers. Missing my connecting bus had extended my trip by another 8 hours. Greyhound bus, dawn, December 4th, Cleveland, Ohio. The loudspeaker in the bus comes on as the driver prepares to make an announcement. We'll be arriving in Cleveland, Ohio in a few minutes. There will be a 40-minute layover. For those of you traveling on to New York, you will be changing buses here. Make sure you get your luggage from under the coach. For everyone else, your trip ends here in Cleveland. Please make sure you take all of your belongings. Thank you for driving Greyhound. The passengers gather their belongings and exit the bus. Michael Merconi and Bobby Rods are the last of the passengers to exit. Merconi and Rods wait on the side of the bus to retrieve their luggage. Merconi picks up his bags and waves goodbye to Bobby Rods. Merconi now walks into the Cleveland, Ohio terminal. It is 6 a.m., December 4th. He then heads directly to gate number 11 and waits online for his next connecting bus. 10 minutes later, the terminal bus arrival doors open. Michael Merconi observes the Flynn brothers as they enter the bus terminal. The boarding doors from gate number 11 now open. The driver begins checking passenger tickets. One by one, passengers start boarding the bus, headed to Pittsburgh. Merconi stares in the directions of the customer service area where the Flynn brothers are waiting in line. Merconi thinking out loud. After all the passengers on my bus had boarded, I looked out the window of the bus and observed the Flynn brothers outside of the terminal doors, watching my bus leave the terminal. Merconi's thoughts are now interrupted when the loudspeaker in the bus comes on as the driver prepares to make an announcement. We'll be arriving in Pittsburgh at approximately 1 p.m. For those of you continuing on to New York, I will be issuing you all reboarding passes. Michael Merconi finds a seat in the rear of the bus. No sooner than the bus pulling out of the terminal, you can hear a loud rumbling coming from the wheels of the coach. It sounded like the wheels are about to fall off. Merconi's thoughts begin to race. As the bus headed down the highway, it felt like it was bottoming out. The suspension on the bus was shot. I was now concerned that the bus wasn't even safe enough to make it to Pittsburgh. I couldn't believe the driver would even take a chance on driving the bus under these conditions. Fortunately for us, the bus somehow made it to our destination on schedule. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Terminal, 1 p.m., December 4th. Merconi now exits the bus, picks up his luggage, and heads to gate number 15. The bus driver opens boarding gate number 15 and begins checking passengers' tickets. One by one, the passengers start boarding the bus, going to Philadelphia. As Merconi waits his turn in line to reboard the bus, his thoughts begin to flutter. I stared around the terminal looking instinctively for the Flynn brothers. The brothers were nowhere in sight. The passengers now board the bus, and Merconi again takes a seat in the rear of the bus. The loudspeaker in the bus comes on as the driver prepares to make an announcement. We'll be arriving in Philadelphia at 7 p.m. Please take all of your belongings when leaving this bus. This bus will be out of service. Merconi again thinking out loud. The noise from the undercarriage of the bus made it impossible to relax. I could tell by the tone of the bus driver's voice that the driver was concerned about the safety of the passengers. I kept my eyes glued to the road. Greyhound Terminal, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Baggage handlers begin loading the luggage compartment. Passengers are putting their bags on the ground next to the rear of the coach. The driver takes one look at the bus and shakes his head in disbelief. The driver now makes an announcement. I'm sorry to inform you that this is not the right bus. I don't know why this bus was chosen, but it will never make it to New York. I am taking it out of service. I apologize for the inconvenience. I want everyone to return to the terminal. All the disappointed passengers pick up their luggage and enter the doors of the terminal. The passengers return to the gate from which they came with all their possessions in hand. A wearied-eyed Michael Merconi returns to gate number 16 and waits on line with all of the passengers. After a 40-minute wait, the bus driver returns and makes an announcement. We are now boarding for New York City. Everyone please have your ticket ready. I am sorry for the delay. The bus driver once again starts checking tickets one by one. The passengers begin boarding the bus. Merconi navigates to his seat near the back of the bus. After the passengers are seated and the bus is on its way, the loudspeaker in the bus comes on as the driver prepares to make an announcement. We'll be arriving in New York City at approximately 11:45 p.m. I'm sorry for the delay. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for riding Greyhound. Merconi now stares out the window and watches as the bus travels down the New Jersey Turnpike headed towards New York City. Merconi once again thinking out loud. The closer we got to New York, the more nervous I became. I had this knot in my stomach. I was getting the feeling that I had not seen the last of the Flynn brothers. I began thinking of ways that I could quickly disappear into the night without being followed or even killed. Merconi's thoughts are now interrupted by the sight of the Lincoln Tunnel. The bus heads through the tunnel and then turns into the Port Authority bus terminal. Once the bus comes to a complete stop, the loudspeaker in the bus comes on and the driver prepares to make an announcement. We are now in New York City. For those of you continuing on from New York, you will be changing buses here. If New York is your final destination, please make sure you take all of your personal belongings. Thank you for your patience, and as always, thank you for going Greyhound. Merconi quickly gathers his belongings and exits the bus. He waits outside of the bus with all the passengers who are waiting for the baggage handlers to pull out the bags. Merconi takes a quick look at his surroundings and sees the Flynn brothers talking to two men in the terminal. Merconi blends in with the passengers and grabs his luggage without the Flynn brothers noticing him. Merconi immediately heads towards the side door to enter the New York City Port Authority terminal. Directly inside of the terminal, the Flynn brothers are standing near the doors with two men. They are all waiting for the passengers to begin entering the terminal. John Flynn is talking to someone on his cell phone. Merconi enters the terminal and walks over to a public telephone where he places his luggage at his feet. He then puts coins into the phone to make a call. Myrna, this is Michael. I just arrived at Port Authority. I'll call you when I get to Brooklyn. Merconi gathers his luggage and gets on the escalator heading towards street level. The four men follow closely. As Merconi gets to the top of the escalator, he takes a quick look back. Merconi, running like a deer, sneaks out a side door of the Port Authority terminal. As soon as Merconi gets outside of the doors of the terminal, he takes off his backpack and pulls out a box of Cheerios cereal and sprinkles the cereal on the ground. Merconi bangs on the glass doors at the side entrance. All four men take off running, trying to catch Merconi. After exiting the door, they all slip and fall. Merconi laughs as he blends into the crowd. Merconi sees a cab and quickly loads his luggage. The taxi cab driver is a young Muslim man with olive complexion, approximately age 30, wearing a beard. The man turns and introduces himself to Merconi. Merconi slumps in the back seat, making it more difficult to be detected. My name is Khalid Ali. Where would you like to go? I need to get to Brooklyn. I want you to step on it. Anything you say? Khalid Ali starts the car and pulls out into busy traffic. The taxi cab driver makes a U-turn on 42nd Street. Merconi sees the Flynn brothers walking on 8th Avenue. He observes the other two men crossing 42nd Street. Merconi can now see and hear a black helicopter flying overhead. Merconi again, thinking out loud. My cab driver made a U-turn in busy Midtown traffic as if he were Mario Andretti driving the Indianapolis 500. Khalid Ali navigated his way on the FDR highway heading south. Traveling on the highway, I felt a sense of relief. The taxi exited at the Delancey Street exit. Ali then took the back streets in Lower Manhattan and headed over the Williamsburg Bridge into Brooklyn. Within a matter of minutes, he had arrived at my destination. Knoll Street Apartments, Brooklyn, New York. Merconi pays the taxi cab driver and then unloads his luggage from the back seat of the taxi cab. Khalid Ali rolls down the window to talk to Merconi. I hope your brother is all right. I will pray for him. Merconi points up to the night sky before answering. From your mouth to God's ear. Thanks, Ali. As Merconi waited in the lobby for Myrna, he heard the roar of a black helicopter overhead. Merconi now thinking out loud. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall when these knuckleheads had to write their report. Woodhall Hospital, Brooklyn, New York, December 5th, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. As Michael Merconi prepares to enter the revolving doors to the hospital, he notices a black helicopter overhead. The hospital lobby is filled with people sitting on couches. Doctors and nurses are walking into the coffee shop entrance. Merconi now walks towards the customer service desk to speak to the receptionist sitting behind the counter. The receptionist is a young Hispanic woman with long black hair in her early 20s. How may I help you? She asks. I'm here to get a pass to see my mother, Martha Merconi, and my brother, Robert Merconi. The receptionist checks her computer terminal for the room number. She then takes out a yellow pass and hands it to Merconi. Your mother is on the third floor in room 323, and your brother Robert is in the psychiatric ward on the 5th floor. Merconi thanks the receptionist and walks over the security area where he shows the police officer the pass and then shows him his photo identification before walking over to the nearest elevator. Merconi gets on the elevator with other visitors and then pushes the number 3 button on the elevator and waits to get off at his floor. Martha Merconi's hospital room 323. Michael Merconi walks into the hospital room and sees his mother on a respirator machine. A nurse is attending to his mother. There is a woman sitting in a chair next to his mother's bed. Pat Rieger, a woman in her late 50s with gray hair wearing a dark shirt and white blouse, smiles when she sees Michael. "You must be Michael." "Yes, I'm Michael. We've spoken many times over the telephone." Merconi glances over at his mother lying in a hospital bed, who appears to be sleeping. "How's my mother doing?" "Your mom has been very sick. She has pneumonia." "I got here as fast as I could. Your mother told me you were coming." "I should have been here a day earlier." Michael walks over to the bed and takes his mother's hand. He then kisses her on the forehead. His mother opens her eyes and stares at her son. Martha Merconi, age 80, with fair complexion and light brown hair, tries to speak. "Thank God you're here." Michael kneels by the side of his mother's bed. "I got here as soon as I could. I got very sick and had to be rushed to the hospital. You look very weak. The social worker's on her way to see you. She has papers for you to sign, son. I'm giving you permission to any decisions about my health care while I'm here at the hospital." "I understand, Mom." A fair-complexioned woman in her 40s with blonde hair enters the room carrying a file folder. "You must be Michael. I have some forms for you to sign." The woman places the forms on the table and points to where it needs to be signed. Michael Merconi takes out a pen from his jacket pocket and initials the paperwork. The social worker hands Merconi his copy in an envelope. "It was a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Merconi." The social worker now leaves the room with the folder. Martha Merconi closes her eyes and goes back to sleep. Michael leans over and kisses his mother on the forehead. "I guess now that your mother is sleeping, you'll be heading upstairs to get your brother out of the hospital." "Yes, I'm going upstairs right now." "I visited your brother last night, and he was so excited that you were coming today to take him home. All he talks about is coming home so he can have a cigarette." "He hasn't had a cigarette in over 2 months. He's probably going stir-crazy. You know your brother pretty well." "That I do. It was a pleasure meeting you, Miss Rieger." Merconi grabs his belongings and heads out the door. Woodall Hospital, 5th floor, psychiatric unit. Michael Merconi is standing in front of a locked metal door. A male attendant opens the door and Merconi enters. They both walk a short way to another door. The attendant pulls out a key from his pocket and unlocks the second door. Merconi follows behind the male attendant towards the main desk. Merconi now looks around the psychiatric unit and sees people watching television sets and also nurses attending to patients, while patients are walking around the unit floor. A black woman, approximately 28 years old, who is a social worker, approaches Merconi and introduces herself. "Hi, I'm Melissa. You must be Robert's brother. We were expecting you." "Yes, I'm Robert's older brother." "We just need to get you to sign Robert's discharge papers." "Okay," Merconi answers. Merconi follows the social worker to her office, but before he can enter the office, he is stopped by his brother. Robert Merconi, age 54, a heavy-set balding white man with salt and pepper gray hair, taps his brother on the shoulder. "Michael, I'm glad you're here. I want to go home. Let's go." Michael smiles and turns and answers, "Hi, Robert. I just have to sign your discharge papers. As soon as I sign your discharge papers, we can leave." Michael enters the social worker's office and signs the papers. The social worker puts the discharge papers into an envelope and hands them to Merconi. Merconi shakes the social worker's hand and walks back over to the nurse's station. Melissa hands Merconi a bag filled with Robert's medication. A male attendant escorts Michael and Robert to the exit door of the psychiatric unit. The attendant opens the door and allows them to exit before slamming the metal door behind them and using his key to lock the door. A couple minutes later, in front of the Woodhull Hospital front entrance area, Merconi hands his brother a pack of Newport cigarettes. Robert breaks open the pack of cigarettes and takes a cigarette from the box and lights the cigarette. After taking a long drag on his cigarette, he sarcastically asks Michael a question. Who made up that no-smoking rule in the hospital anyway? I think it was the mayor, Robert. That Mayor Bumberg is an asshole. I guess you're going to have to take it up with City Hall, Robert. Why are the prices for cigarettes so high? You got me, Robert. Why don't you ask the mayor? Who elected that guy anyway? I'd say a lot of non-smokers, Robert. Michael waits until Robert finishes his cigarette before they get into a curbside taxi. As they enter the taxi, Michael observes a black helicopter flying overhead. Saturday, December 6, Knoll Street Apartments. Michael is sitting at the kitchen table having his lunch. Robert approaches the table to ask his brother a question. Hey, Michael, I got a pimple on my ass. What can I do about it? It hurts bad. I suggest you do about face and march that ass into the bathroom and take a shower. Can you take a look at it, Michael? Hell no, not when I'm eating. Are you sure you can't look at it now? Yes, I'm sure. I promise to look at it later. Now go take a shower. Michael is sitting in the living room watching television when Robert returns after his shower. Hey, Michael, can you check out that pimple now? Before Merconi has time to answer, their conversation is interrupted by a loud rumbling noise rattling the living room windows. Michael quickly gets off the couch and walks over to the window, and Robert lifts up his pants and stands next to Michael. Michael, I saw the same helicopter when we were leaving the hospital. It sure looks like it, Robert. What do you think they want? Maybe there is some illegal activity going on that we don't know about. I'll ask Jerry, the building super, about it and see what I can find out. Michael takes the elevator down to the lobby area to try to find Jerry. Michael steps out of the elevator and sees the building super sweeping up the rear courtyard. Michael walks out to the courtyard to have a conversation with Jerry the super. Jerry the super is an overweight Hispanic man with a beard who smiles when he sees Merconi walking towards him. Hey, Michael, when'd you get back? Got here around 11:30 on Friday night. Got a question to ask you, Jerry. Have you seen any helicopters today? Dude, I must have seen at least 6 of them today. I also saw 2 suspicious men in a blue van parked across the street overnight. They must be on surveillance, Jerry. I wonder what this is all about. They're just probably looking to bust a drug dealer. Yeah, I was a little concerned, Jerry. You got nothing to worry about. You're not into anything illegal, are you? Maybe they want to bust me for buying bootleg cigarettes from my brother. Who can afford to buy cigarettes in his store? You'd have to be a millionaire. Yeah, like the billionaire mayor of New York, Morris Bumberg. I don't think he's worried about the price of cigarettes. You got that right, Jerry. I'll talk to you later. It's good to have you back there, Michael. See you later. Michael opens the door from the courtyard and heads towards the elevator. Michael waits for the elevator door to open. The door is open and 4 people exit the elevator. Hammer, a tall Hispanic man, smiles when he sees Merconi. When'd you get back? I just got in late Friday night. I heard your mother and brother were both at the hospital. My mother is still there. She's recovering from pneumonia. I just brought my brother home. It looks like you're going to be here for a while, dude. Yeah, it does look that way, Hammer. We need to hang out one night and have some fun. You know, that's not a bad idea. By the way, I could use a good laugh. I want to ask you something, though. Have you seen any helicopters around here lately, Hammer? Oh, man, I've been seeing them since Friday night. Hey, Hammer, what do you think the surveillance is all about? Drugs, dude. There are a lot of people selling drugs around here. You mean in the building? Yeah. No kidding. We got drug dealers right here in the building living on the first floor. We do? Yeah, they're probably looking to bust up a Banya brothers. Merconi laughs as he waves goodbye to Hammer before getting on the elevator. Merconi returns to the apartment. His brother Robert is sitting at the table having a cigarette. Michael, can you go out and get me some cigarettes? Michael puts his finger over his mouth and whispers into his brother's right ear, yes. Merconi puts his hand over his brother's mouth to stop him from talking. When are you going out, Michael? Soon. When are you coming back? Merconi whispering, after I pick up your cigarettes. Michael puts his hand over his brother's mouth to stop him from talking. Why are we whispering? Michael, pissed off with his brother, answers, I was trying to keep it a secret, but obviously I can't get you to follow along. You're going to get me killed. So are you going out to get me the cigarettes? Their conversation is once again interrupted by the sound of a loud, rumbling noise. The helicopter has returned. Michael and Robert go back over to the living room window. Michael, the helicopter is back. Yeah, Aegon and O'Rourke have returned. They've got nothing better to do than to bust my balls. What are you talking about? It's a long story, Robert. Can you please go get my cigarettes? Michael walks over to the clothes closet and puts on his coat. Looking up to the ceiling, Michael begins shouting, Okay, listen up, Aegon and O'Rourke. I'm leaving now to go down to Graham Avenue and pick up a carton of bootleg cigarettes for my brother. I'll be back in about an hour. Michael opens the front door to exit the apartment and then waves goodbye to his brother. Central Avenue and Knowles Street 1 hour later. Merconi, returning from his shopping trip, observes a black helicopter as he is waiting for a light to change before crossing the street. When the light changes, Merconi cautiously looks both ways before attempting to cross the street in the direction of his apartment building. As Merconi waits for the light to turn green, he sees a black helicopter flying directly overhead. Merconi now steps out into the crosswalk, and as he does, a red car comes speeding towards him. Merconi makes a mad dash back to the sidewalk. The red car runs the traffic light, nearly hitting Merconi. Merconi now can see the red car's South Carolina license plates. As the car speeds away, Merconi can see the car as it gets to the next corner. The car then turns left on a one-way street in the wrong direction. Merconi, visibly shaken, waits for a moment before crossing the street. As he nears his apartment building, he observes a black Lexus with tinted windows creeping slowly across the intersection. Merconi, now standing in front of his apartment building, sees a black helicopter flying past the building. Merconi enters the lobby of the apartment building and takes the elevator back up to the apartment. Merconi enters the apartment carrying a white plastic bag. Michael, did you get my cigarettes? I can't believe it, Robert. Somebody just tried to run me over with a car. Somebody tried to kill you, Michael? Where? Right here on the corner, next to the police station. Where's the cop when you need him? Eating a freaking donut? Their conversation is interrupted by a loud rumbling sound of a helicopter outside of the living room. Michael, the helicopter's back. The helicopter was flying over my head when the car almost hit me, Robert. What are they trying to do, kill you? They don't want the truth to get out. We need to call the police. What are the police going to do, Robert? I'm afraid they're going to kill you. I'm not going to worry about it. I plan to be around a long time, Robert. Knowles Street Apartments courtyard, later that evening. Michael and Robert are standing in the courtyard. Robert is puffing on a cigar. Listen, Robert, after you finish the cigar, I'll have to take you back to the apartment. I just realized I don't have enough quarters to finish drying the clothes. Are you going to the store to get quarters? No, Robert. There's a laundromat around the corner on Melrose Street. I'll put the clothes into a shopping cart and wheel them over to the laundromat and finish drying the clothes there. Michael and Robert are interrupted by the sound of a helicopter. They both watch as the black helicopter flies over the apartment. Michael, be careful. Don't worry, Robert. I'll be all right. I can't live in fear. Nothing is going to happen to me. I promise. Melrose Street, near the laundromat, later that evening. Merconi is walking with a metal shopping cart filled with wet laundry. As he turns the corner onto Melrose Street, he prepares to cross the street with the laundry cart. Merconi can see a black car with tinted windows parked on the right side of the street. Merconi is blinded by the car's high beam lights. Merconi hesitates before crossing the street with the laundry cart. The black car now pulls out and tries to hit Merconi. Merconi, in self-defense, rolls the laundry cart at the speeding car. The laundry cart slams into the speeding car and all the clothes go flying. Underwear lands on the windshield of the car. The black car runs a traffic light, slamming into another car before making a turn to get away. Merconi laughs as he observes the car as it speeds down the road. Knoll Street Apartments 1 hour later. Merconi returns with the laundry cart and walks into his bedroom to fold the clothes. Robert rushes into the room to talk to his brother. "Michael, what took you so long?" "Robert, I narrowly missed being hit by another car when I was going to the laundromat." "Do you have any idea who's doing this?" "No, Robert, I don't. I wasn't able to get a good look at the car." "What are you going to do?" "For starters, I'm going to have to buy you a new set of underwear." "What happened to my underwear?" "It's a long story. Let's just say someone took your underwear for a ride." "Hey, Michael, a man just called here asking for you. When I asked for his name, he hung up." "The next time the phone rings, I'll answer it. These guys don't frighten me at all. If they had any balls, they'd confront me." The Merconi brothers are interrupted by a loud rumbling noise that is rattling the living room windows. Robert goes to the window and observes a black helicopter fly past. "It's the helicopter. He's back again. What are we going to do? I'm scared. If we stay here, they're going to kill us." "Now, come on, Robert. Please, calm down. Everything's going to be all right. I'm going to give you your medication, and hopefully it'll calm you down so we can get some sleep tonight. Okay?" Merconi walks into the kitchen and places Robert's medication into a plastic cup. He then goes into the cabinet and takes out a glass and fills it with water. Merconi returns to Robert's room with the medication. Merconi hands Robert the glass of water in the pill container. Robert puts the pills in his mouth and takes a drink of the water. Merconi then tucks his brother in bed and hits the light switch, putting out the bedroom light. "Robert, get some rest. We'll talk about this tomorrow, okay? Good night, Rob." Knoll Street Apartments, the middle of the night. Merconi is awakened by the screams of his brother calling for help. Merconi quickly gets out of his bed and rushes to his brother's room. "Robert, what's wrong? Are you okay?" "Michael, they're going to kill us. We have to get out of here. They're going to kill us tonight." Merconi runs into the kitchen to get his brother a glass of water. Sweat is pouring down Robert's face. Robert is freaking out. "Michael, put on your coat. Let's go. We got to get out of here." "Robert, please. You need to calm down." "Michael, I feel dizzy." "Robert, I'm going to call an ambulance to take you to the hospital." Merconi picks up the telephone and calls for help. "Michael, please, we have to get out of here tonight. It's not safe. They're going to kill us." Michael hugs his brother until the ambulance arrives. Within 15 minutes, Michael hears a knock on the front door. Michael opens the front door and allows 2 police officers to enter the apartment. "Did you call for an ambulance?" "Yes, it's for my brother." "What's the problem?" "My brother is acting delusional." "Does your brother have a medical condition?" "Yes, a very long history." The emergency medical unit arrives and enters the apartment. Merconi escorts the men into his brother's bedroom. The emergency medical personnel begin checking Robert's vital signs. Merconi and the police officers stand in the background and watch. Robert begins ranting and raving. "You have to help us! Somebody's trying to kill us! They tried to run my brother over with a car!" The EMS worker places Robert into a wheelchair and secures the seatbelt around his waist. The worker then wheels Robert out the front door of the apartment. "There are helicopters everywhere. They're outside of our window. My brother Michael's in danger. If he stays in the apartment, someone's going to try and kill him. Please, help my brother. I don't want to see him die." As Robert is being wheeled towards the elevator, the police officer walks over to Merconi and starts a conversation.
He was rambling that someone was trying to kill his brother.
Don't pay any attention to that, officer.
He said that someone was after you and trying to run you over with a car. He also said there are helicopters outside of the building.
Merconi pauses before answering the police officer. He said that? Wow, what a story.
You did the right thing calling for an ambulance.
Yeah, I could tell by the way he was sweating that something was wrong.
Well, the EMS attendant thinks your brother may have suffered a heart attack. Well, good night, Mr. Merconi.
Thanks for your help, officer. Good night. Merconi closes the front door to the apartment and takes a seat at the kitchen table and stares at the walls. Merconi then lowers his head and then nervously uses both hands to comb his hair. Woodhall Hospital, early the next day. The medical intensive care unit, 8th floor, room number 120. Merconi walks up to the door of his brother's hospital room. There is a nurse sitting at a desk guarding the door. His brother is lying awake in his bed, hooked up to a heart monitor. A black female nurse, age 40, with long black hair, wearing a white uniform, turns to ask Merconi a question.
Are you here to see your father?
No, I'm here to see my younger brother.
I'm so sorry, but he looks so much older than you.
It's okay, I've heard it before. That's what sickness will do to you. Robert hears his brother talking to the nurse. He sits up in bed and waits until his brother enters the room. Robert whispers something in his brother's ear. Robert then turns and yells out to the female nurse, who is outside of the room.
Can you close the door? It's confidential. My brother and I need to talk.
I'm sorry, Robert. I can't close the door. The door has to stay open. It's for your own safety. I'm here to make sure nothing bad happens to you.
I've been trying to call you since 4 o'clock this morning, Michael.
So it was you that called and hung up?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I dialed the right number. Why'd you hang up?
Because I thought it was a crank call. Why didn't you speak?
My heart monitor wires kept getting tangled in the telephone cord.
After the 3rd phone call, I disconnected the telephone so I can get some sleep.
Why, I couldn't get you on the telephone. I called the operator and had to connect me to the police department.
What did you tell him?
I told the police that someone was trying to kill you. They wanted to know who the person was.
What name did you give him?
I told them that it was President George Sharp that was out to get you. I wanted to have him arrested and put in jail for trying to kill you.
So what happened next?
They wanted to know my name so they could have me arrested.
Giving you a telephone, Robert, is like handing you a loaded weapon.
Michael, did anybody try to kill you today?
Not today, Robert. Robert turns and yells out to the female nurse.
Nurse, I need to make a telephone call. I have to call Washington. They need to ground all the helicopters. The government's trying to kill my brother.
Who wants to kill your brother? Robert leans over and speaks softly to his brother.
Michael, I want you to buy a car. I give you $500 to buy a car. If you can get me out of here, you don't even have to pay me back.
I'll think about it, Robert.
Michael, can we move to a country where cigarettes are $2 a pack?
Yes, Robert.
Where can we go?
How about Italy, Robert?
Will they send my checks there?
I don't see why not.
Do they have American TV over there?
I'm sure they do, Robert.
Are we going to fly or take a boat to get there? I've never been on a plane before.
How do you want to go?
Michael, let's go by boat. Do you think the Krauts will try to sink the boat on the way to Italy?
I hope not, Robert. The war's been over a long time.
Okay, then, let's go.
Robert, excited by the news, yells out to the nurse at the door.
Nurse, get my clothes. My brother and I are leaving.
Where do you think you're going?
I'm going to Italy so I can get cigarettes for $2 a pack.
You can't leave without the doctor's permission. Robert now yells out to the nurse.
I want to go home. Get my clothes. I'm leaving.
The nurse enters the room to calm Robert down. Robert, I'm sorry, but you can't leave the hospital without seeing the doctor first. That's the hospital's rules.
My brother Michael owns a hospital. He says I can go home now.
Why don't you have dinner first, Robert?
I don't want any hospital food. I'm sick of hospital food. I'm Italian. I want some Italian food.
They're serving chicken for dinner.
Michael, can you get some spaghetti before we leave? Maybe we can go get some spaghetti in the restaurant downstairs before we go home, please.
A female nurse enters a room to take a blood sample. Hello, Mr. President. I'm going to need to get a blood sample from you. It won't take long.
Okay.
The nurse draws a tube of blood from Robert's right arm.
If there's a war, I'll send out battleships, the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, and the Reserves. That's what I'm going to do to stop the war.
You certainly know what to do, Robert.
Michael, do you want to be vice president?
I'll think about it, Robert.
Michael, if you're the vice president, you can change the law. You can put President Scherf in jail. Scherf doesn't need to have a trial. Make it so he never gets out.
It's not a bad idea, Robert.
Michael, 2 guys tried to kill me throwing a brick off the roof. Can you put them in jail?
I'll have them locked up and throw away the key. They'll never get out, Robert.
Give me a pack of cigarettes, Michael. A container of coffee and a donut. And I'll be ready to leave by the time you get back.
The female nurse now steps in. Robert, I'll be right back with your medication. In less than a minute, the female nurse returns with Robert's medication. She hands Robert a glass of water with the pills. Robert puts the pills in his mouth and takes a drink of the water and swallows the pills. Within a few minutes, Robert is fast asleep. Bushwick Public Library branch in Brooklyn, New York. Michael Merconi walks up the library steps and enters the building. Michael waves to the librarian at the circulation desk and walks over to the security desk where a man in a blue regulation police officer uniform is standing. Officer Lopez, a Hispanic male approximately 45 years old with olive complexion and a shaved bald head with a goatee, wearing glasses, smiles when he recognizes Merconi. Hi, Michael. It's great to see you. When'd you get back? I got back a couple of weeks ago. I'm glad to see that you're alive. Are you still being followed? I can't even take a dump in the toilet without them hearing it hit the water in the bowl. Are you here to get on the computer to use the internet? The last time I was in New York, my computer was hacked into and someone crashed my computer modem 3 times. Yeah, I remember. That's how we met. How's the watch doing? You mean the watch I took from one of the muggers, Lopez? Yeah, do you still have it? Merconi rolls up his sleeves and shows Officer Lopez the watch. It works as good as a Timex. It takes a licking and it keeps on ticking. Wasn't that the first day you noticed you being followed by helicopters? Yeah, that's right, Lopez, it was. Do you remember when I showed you the book I bought that was going to be used as a journal and I was going to keep a record of everything? You know, come to think of it, matter of fact, I do. Well, since this all began in May of 2008, I have kept a record of all the helicopter surveillance. Would you like to know how many times I've been watched by helicopters? Yes, absolutely. I'm curious to hear the number of actual sightings. Merconi goes into his coat pocket and pulls out the journal. He opens the book and searches for the page that has the number total for all the helicopter sightings. I kept a daily record for each month, starting in May and ending in December. I'm going to give you the totals for each month. Okay. Beginning in May, there were 3. In June, there were 5. In July, there was 1. But I was followed 10 times that I know of. In August, there was 1. But again, I was followed at least a dozen times in August. In September, there were 12 sightings. In October, there were 13. In November, there were 11. And in December, there was 16. Wow, that's amazing. In total, there has been 61 helicopter sightings, and I have been followed at least 21 times. I even have photos of them to prove it. I'd love to see the photos. All you have to do is go to YouTube and search the title, The Merconi Show, and you can watch the video. I'm going to do that, Michael. Good for you. I'm glad you got it out there. People will start to believe you. They won't think you're a nutcase who is paranoid and telling everyone that he's being followed, like in the Mel Gibson movie The Conspiracy Theory. When this all began in May, I tried to tell my mother about it. My mother thought I was going crazy. She asked me if I was taking drugs. It's hard to believe that something like this could be happening in America. My mother then suggested I go to confession and talk to her priest. I told her the only way I'd go to confession is if I could confess for the people who were trying to hurt me. She called me an atheist. I corrected her and told her I was a realist. You know, I finally got around to listening to your radio interview. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, Lopez. It was very interesting. Did you ever get to Mount Shasta to look for the hidden underground tunnel? That's a long story, Lopez. I'd love to hear it. Okay then, well, let's start at the beginning. Here's where my story begins. Greyhound Bus Terminal, Olympia, Washington, 6 months earlier, 10:30 p.m. Raina, a woman with long black hair and fair complexion, is waiting outside of the terminal for passengers to exit the Greyhound bus. Raina spots Merconi as he walks over to the side of the coach to pick up his luggage. Hi, Michael, you made it! Merconi warmly hugs and kisses Raina. I should have been here a couple days ago, Raina. I was starting to worry, Michael. Yeah, for some unexplained reason, the bus made an unscheduled stop in Tacoma. You must be physically exhausted from the trip, Michael. Oh, I'll tell you, Raina, from all this sitting, my back is a little out of whack. Well, Michael, my car is parked on the street. It's right over there. It won't take us long to get back to my apartment. That sounds good to me, Raina. Merconi picks up his luggage and follows Raina over to her silver Toyota Corolla. Raina starts the car, and they pull away. Within 10 minutes, Raina arrives at the Cooper Glen Apartments in Olympia, Washington. Raina parks the silver Toyota in the apartment complex parking lot. Raina grabs one of the bags and escorts Merconi to her apartment. Raina opens the door with her key to the apartment. Raina helps Merconi carry the luggage into the apartment. You can put your things in the guest room, Michael. That works for me, Raina. Raina and Michael place the bags in the guest room. They then walk back into the living room. Raina motions with her hand for Michael to take a seat. Make yourself comfortable, Michael. Michael sits down in a hardback chair across from Raina. Would you believe they lost my luggage in Cleveland, Raina? That's terrible, Michael. I was told that somehow it got loaded on another bus, but not to worry, it would be in Toledo when I got there. That's a little odd. I thought so too, Raina. As it turned out, when my bus got to Toledo, my luggage mysteriously appeared. It makes as much sense as the unexpected stop you had to make in Tacoma. Yeah, Raina, I'll check my bag in the morning to see if anything is missing. Speaking of missing, I had something weird to tell you. I'm listening, Raina. Do you remember when I called you last week and you told me you were watching a soccer game on television and would call me back as soon as the game was over? Yeah, I remember, Raina. Well, on the way home from work, I'm driving on a two-way street, and there's a car coming towards me that is taking up both sides of the road. So I slow down to let the car pass, but the car keeps coming towards me and then suddenly stops. So I stop, unsure what to do. All of a sudden, a car from behind me pulls up alongside of me. A man then rolls down his passenger window and asks if I've seen his soccer ball. I answer no and quickly roll up my window. He smiles and laughs. Instead of passing me, he puts his car in reverse and parks his car on the side of the road. Yeah, Raina, that is definitely a little weird. And then later that evening, I go outside to take out the trash, and I find his soccer ball in my dumpster. Someone had to be listening to our conversation, Raina. How else would they know my favorite sport was soccer? Yeah, I think so too. What do you think they want, Michael? The hell if I know. They must think you know something, Michael. I wish somebody would tell me what I'm supposed to know, that they think I know, that I don't know that I know, that they think that I know. Well, I know you must be tired from the trip. I'm going to go to bed now. I'll see you in the morning, Michael. Good night, Michael. Yeah, I'm going to bed too, Raina. We can talk about it tomorrow. Raina and Michael both retire for the evening. Raina's apartment the following morning. Raina and Michael are sitting in the living room having breakfast. Michael looks around the room studying his new surroundings while drinking a cup of coffee. As he looks around the living room, he sees pictures on the wall of Marilyn Monroe, John Lennon, and Phil Oakes. He then takes a double take when he sees his photo in a picture frame on the mantel just above the desk in the living room. Oh, that is so sweet, Raina. I see you have my photo displayed too. I hope you like it, Michael. Yes, Raina, I like it very much. How are you feeling this morning, Michael? Does your back still hurt? Yeah, Raina, I'm still a little sore. Just the thought of you being sore makes me sore. Raina, yeah, I'm not looking forward to the return trip, I'll tell you that. You know, Michael, 3,000 miles is a long way to travel. I don't think I could have traveled 3,000 miles on a bus. I don't think I could have done it. Yeah, you're right, Raina. 3,000 miles is a long way to travel on a bus. But just the thought of knowing that you'd be here when I got here was all I needed to get me through it. Merconi takes a hold of Raina's hand and smiles. You know, Raina, we've talked almost every day for the last 3 months. After 3 months on the telephone, I just had to meet the girl on the other end of the telephone line. That is so sweet, Michael. Yes, Raina, we have so much in common and are so much alike. It's almost uncanny. Yeah, I've had the same feeling about you, Michael. It was like I found my kindred soul. Raina, our meeting must have been orchestrated on a higher level. There are no coincidences in life. I believe that too, Michael. Sometimes you have to listen to the voice from within. Yes, Raina, and not let fear put the bug in your ear. I still can't believe how we met, Michael. Pretty amazing, wasn't it, Raina? Who would believe that I'd be listening to you being interviewed by George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM about a legend, and that I would contact you by email, and a couple of months later you would be here having breakfast with me? Yes, that is definitely a stretch of the imagination, Raina. You know, Michael, I've been a long-time Art Bell Coast to Coast listener. I thought your interview with George Norrie was one of the best I had ever heard. I was fascinated by the story about the legend of J.C. Brown, and after listening to the show, I decided to send you an email. I never thought you would really respond to my email. Well, Raina, when I got your email, I was surprised by the fact you wanted to send me a CD of an old Art Bell Coast to Coast interview with Mel Waters called Mel's Hole. Well, Michael, for some unexplainable reason, I felt the Mel Waters interview might be vital to your research regarding the underground civilization J.C. Brown claimed to have found beneath Mount Shasta. You know, Raina, after listening to the interview, I knew you were right. And when I heard you say on the radio that you were planning an expedition up to Mount Shasta, I just had to meet you. Since moving here from Los Angeles, I have met many Native Americans who claim that the mountains in the Pacific Northwest are inhabited by underground beings. Well, that's exactly why I traveled 3,000 miles to get here. I'm eager to find out. Michael notices a white spotted cat with powder blue eyes coming towards him. Michael picks up the cat and pets it. I think he likes you. He doesn't go near anybody, Michael. What's the cat's name, Raina? His name is Marley. I named him after Bob Marley. If you don't mind, Raina, I'm going to call him Marlito Jones. Marlito Jones? Raina now bursts out hysterically in laughter. Raina's laughter is interrupted by the ring of her cell phone. Raina picks up her cell phone from the counter and sits down at the kitchen table to talk. After finishing her telephone call, Raina turns to speak with Michael. I just got a call from a medicine man named Bobby McCoy. He's a tribal elder from one of the local tribes. He called to tell me he needs to speak to you, Michael. He says it's important. I never even told him you were coming. I haven't spoken to Bobby McCoy in over 3 months. Merconi is surprised by Raina's comment. Raina's apartment later that evening. There is a knock on the front door. Raina gets up from her chair in the living room to answer the front door. Merconi turns to catch a glimpse of the man who is standing right outside of the door. Hi, Bobby. How are you doing, Raina? Good, Bobby. Come on in. Bobby McCoy, age 60, with long black hair and a ponytail, wearing glasses, with olive complexion, standing 6 foot tall, wearing a gray pullover sweatshirt with jeans and sneakers, walks into the living room. Raina introduces Merconi to Bobby McCoy. Bobby, I'd like to introduce you to Michael Merconi. Merconi gets up from his chair in the living room and shakes hands with Bobby McCoy.
My name's Bobby McCoy. Just call me Bobby. That's what everybody calls me.
Please, call me Michael. Raina told me that you'd be stopping over. Raina and Bobby take a seat on the hardback chairs. Merconi takes a seat on a stool next to the kitchen. Oh, Bobby, I haven't seen you for quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months.
The last time we spoke, you were getting over pneumonia. How are you feeling, Bobby?
Well, I'm better now.
I'm happy to hear that. Bobby turns to speak to Merconi.
So, Michael, what brings you to Olympia?
I came out here because of a story that I've been researching about an ancient legend in California.
I see. So how did you and Raina meet?
I'll let Raina answer that question, Bobby. I heard Michael doing an interview on the radio and sent him an email. We started corresponding with one another and became friends. Yeah, that's right there, Bobby. After about 3 months of emails and telephone conversations, I figured it was time that we should meet, so here I am.
Raina's a good woman. I've known her a very long time. She's been very active in the Native American community.
Yes, she's mentioned that to me, Bobby.
What legend are you referring to?
It's the legend of J.C. Brown, Bobby.
I don't think I've ever heard of it. What's the story about?
Well, the story's about a man named J.C. Brown who claims that while prospecting for gold in Mount Shasta, he stumbled upon a tunnel that led 12 miles into the mountain, where he found a village. In the village, he discovered skeletons and the remains of giants that were between 7 to 10 feet tall. These giants have lived underground for thousands of years.
The giants you're referring to do exist. We call them the Tall Ones. The Tall Ones are our descendants.
Bobby, have you or anyone in your family ever seen them?
My grandfather told me stories when I was young about seeing them fishing on the Nisqually River.
What do they look like, Bobby?
They look like Indians and have long black hair and stand about 8 to 9 feet tall. They wore buckskin.
So the stories are true.
I knew a woman that was raised by the Tall Ones. She would leave tobacco and food on a plate for them when they returned to the reservation.
What about Bigfoot, Bobby? Have you ever seen one?
I have a friend who lives near the Olympic National Forest. He has a smoker that he uses to cook salmon. Bigfoot, as you call him, has been frequently seen taking salmon out of his smoker. My friend had to modify the smoker by increasing the height of it and putting on a glass door. The reasons he did that was because Sasquatch would take the salmon out of the smoker before the salmon was done.
Did modifying the smoker help?
Yes. He hasn't had any problems since.
I always wondered, Bobby, why there weren't more sightings of Bigfoot.
They can materialize at will, so you can't see them.
You mean the Bering Strait theory is a lie?
Yes. We've been on this continent for thousands of years.
If the truth be known, it would destroy the paradigm our early European forefathers created, Bobby. Which also means that movie they're trying to peddle to our kids, Ice Age, is all bullshit. Raina now adds her thoughts into the mix. It's like Adolf Hitler said, the bigger the lie, the more believable it becomes. Their conversation is interrupted by the loud rumbling of a helicopter flying over the apartment. Raina opens the front door of her apartment. They all go outside to investigate. Staring at the helicopter, Merconi now comments, I've had helicopters, Bobby, follow me in New York, and now they're here.
My people have been under surveillance for over 500 years. We've had plenty of time to get used to it. Michael, you're either going to have to get used to it or find a way to fight back.
They all watch as the helicopters fly over the complex. Raina's apartment, Saturday morning. Raina and Merconi are sitting in the living room. Bobby, I thought I'd take you downtown to see the state capitol building. We can take a walk around the lake. Is that okay? That would be nice. Maybe we can take some pictures too, Raina. Great. I'll get my camera and we can go. Raina goes into her bedroom to get her camera. When she returns, they both head out the front door. After a short 5-minute drive, Raina and Bobby arrive at the Olympia State Capitol parking lot. Raina and Merconi get out of her silver Toyota and walk towards the Capitol Lake. Merconi can now see the Capitol Lake. He can also see the Olympia State Capitol building in the background. There are people walking and jogging around the lake. There are children with their parents sitting on park benches. Raina takes out her camera and begins to take photos of the lake with the state capitol in the background. I've always wanted to take a picture of the Capitol. You couldn't have asked for a more perfect day, Raina. Merconi takes Raina's hand and they walk around the lake in the direction of the state capitol building. I'm excited, Raina. I've got great news. I called Mike Schultz of Odyssey Radio and confirmed my interview for Monday. That's excellent, Michael. Yes, after listening to my interview on Coast to Coast about the legend, Mike asked me to come on his show. He wants to know what my plans are regarding the expedition up to Mount Shasta to find the tunnel. Yeah, and so does everybody else who's been following you, Michael. You know, I had no idea, Raina, that my theory would put myself and anyone I came in contact with in so much jeopardy. I never meant to cause you any harm, Raina. There's no way you could have predicted it, Michael. Yes, but you know, after we began communicating, I knew that we had to meet. It's okay, Michael. I'm very happy that I finally got the chance to meet you too. Merconi and Raina stop at a park bench to sit. Merconi notices a couple over at the next bench and they begin observing them. Merconi pokes Raina and then turns his head in the direction of the older couple. Raina stares at the older couple for a moment and picks up on the surveillance. She takes Merconi's hand and they walk back to the car. Raina's apartment, Sunday afternoon. Raina and Merconi are sitting in the living room. I need to run down to the store to buy some groceries. Would you mind coming with me, Michael? No, not at all, Raina. I don't mind at all. Okay, let me go get my purse. Raina walks over to the kitchen counter and grabs her bag. Merconi gets up from his chair and they head out the front door. Safeway Foods, Olympia, Washington. Raina and Merconi get out of the silver Toyota. Raina walks over to the shopping cart rack and pulls out a cart. As Merconi and Raina walk towards the entrance of the supermarket, they see a black helicopter. It looks like we've got company, Raina. It sure does, Michael. It's freaking Sunday. Don't these guys ever take a day off? Now I see, Michael, where all our hard-earned taxpayer dollars are going. Raina and Michael now enter the Safeway supermarket. Raina pushes the shopping cart around the market, adding items to the cart. Merconi notices a man following them down the aisle, talking on a cell phone. Raina, do you see that guy at the end of the aisle? Yes, Michael. He's been following us since we entered the store. Maybe he wants to know if you have Wheaties for breakfast. Merconi goes over to the shelf and picks up a large box of Cheerios and puts it into the shopping cart. I'm a Cheerios kind of guy, Raina. Raina and Merconi turn and watch as the man continues talking on the cell phone. You know, Michael, he's making it obvious that he's watching us. He's trying to intimidate us. You know, Raina, I might have to open up a can of whoop-ass and smack some sense into him. Raina and Merconi stare at the man and laugh. They continue down the aisle to finish the food shopping. Cooper's Glen apartment complex a week later. Raina and Merconi are sitting at a picnic table under a large cedar tree in the apartment complex development. Michael, have you gotten any feedback from the radio interview you did last week with Mike Schultz from BBS Radio? Matter of fact, Raina, I did. I got an email from a man named Raul who said he listened to the show. He wants me to meet him at Mount Shasta at Panther Meadow. Sounds like it could be a setup, Michael. Yeah, I thought so too, Raina. I don't get a good feeling about this guy, Michael. Yeah, neither do I. I wonder if he's the same Raul that assassin James Earl Ray claimed killed Martin Luther King Jr. That's funny, Michael. There's another unsolved mystery. Now that you mention it, Raina, there was also some other good news I wanted to share with you. I also had a film director named Kyle Lawton send me an email with his cell number to call. He's interested in going up to Mount Shasta to film the expedition. That's great news, Michael. Matter of fact, why don't I just call him now? That's a great idea, Michael. Good luck. Thanks, Raina. Merconi goes into his pocket and takes out his cell phone. He then takes out a piece of paper and dials the number. Merconi's call is connected. This is Michael Merconi. I got your email regarding your interest to film the Mount Shasta expedition. Merconi's telephone call is quickly disconnected. He then hits the redial button on his cell phone. Kyle, this is Michael. I got disconnected again. Merconi is interrupted by a loud roar of a helicopter. Merconi loses telephone reception again and is disconnected. Rainer, observing and sees what is happening, comments to Merconi. Apparently, Michael, somebody doesn't want you to get to Mount Shasta. Yeah, Rainer. Aegon and O'Rourke. Rainer and Merconi walk out into the grassy area to get a better view of the black helicopter as it flies over the development. Merconi takes Rainer's hand and they embrace. They wait until the helicopter has passed before they go back to the apartment. Tacoma waterfront, tall ships event. Rainer and Merconi make their way through a large crowd that is gathered around a group of indigenous people who are busy carving out a 15-foot cedar log by hand. Hi, Bobby.
I'm glad you made it, Rainer.
Bobby McCoy goes into his leather tool pouch and hands Rainer and Merconi a chisel to whittle down the wood. Rainer and Merconi accept the tools, and Bobby positions them behind the cedar log to help carving out the canoe. I told you I'd be here, Bobby.
We can use all the help we can get.
How long have you been working on it, Bobby?
We started working on it since last summer. I hope to have it finished by the end of the week. We plan to take it on our annual canoe journey up to Canada.
It's a fun time, Michael. I went on the journey last year. It sounds like a lot of fun, Rainer, paddling up the Puget Sound and traveling up to Canada.
We have room on the canoe for you, Michael, if you'd like to go.
Well, thank you, Bobby.
Later this afternoon there is going to be a sweat at our house. You're both invited.
I'm honored, Bobby. I'll make sure to pack the car with towels and Gatorade.
It's been a long time, Rainer, since you've been to the sweat.
Yes, Bobby, you're right.
Michael, have you ever been to a sweat lodge?
No, Bobby, I haven't.
Today will be a special day. We'll be praying for a safe canoe journey for everyone attending the event.
Bobby McCoy goes back to carving the cedar log. Rainer smiles at Merconi as they join in with the others who are chiseling away at the canoe as the crowd watches. Rainer's apartment later that evening. Rainer is in the living room sitting at her desk at the computer while talking on her cell phone. Merconi is sitting in a chair trying to access his laptop computer. Michael, I just got off the telephone with the technician from Comcast. They're checking my computer lines and they told me that the modem may be shot. You weren't even home to use the computer, Rainer. I know, Michael. How strange is that? They're going to send a service tech out tomorrow to replace the modem. Merconi, typing into his laptop computer, makes a discovery. You're not the only one, Rainer, who's having computer problems. Someone's hacked into my computer, too. Rainer gets up from her chair and walks over to where Merconi is sitting and looks at his computer screen. Well, I'll be. Check this out, Rainer. Somebody has set up a user account using the Microsoft logo. Merconi now changes screens on the computer and points to the screen. And look at this. They even have my computer set up for remote assistance and desktop monitoring. Boy, all this is making me nervous. I wonder if they change my settings too. Rainer goes onto her computer to check her settings. Within a couple minutes, she returns. Michael, someone has tampered with my settings too. Someone must have gotten to the apartment while we were out. It sure looks that way, Rainer. You better take a close look around. Rainer walks over to her bedroom and enters the room. Within a few minutes, she returns holding a pair of cut-up panties. Michael, someone's been through my clothes drawer and cut up my panties. I think I better check out the guest room and see if any of my things are missing. Merconi walks from the living room into the guest bedroom and returns holding a penny. Merconi shows it to Rainer. Someone has left me a souvenir too, Rainer. It's a penny that has been dented by a bullet. I think they're trying to send both of us a message. Rainer's apartment the following day. Rainer and Merconi are talking in the living room. Michael, I'm going to have to hang around waiting for the service tech to check out the computer. Well, if you don't mind, Rainer, I was thinking about taking the bus downtown to do a little sightseeing. Matter of fact, no, that's a great idea, Michael. I'll see you when you get back. Merconi kisses Raina goodbye and exits the apartment. Upon exiting the apartment, Merconi walks past another set of apartments where he notices two men observing him. One of the men is talking on his cell phone. Merconi focuses attention on a white van with the markings Goon Squad. As soon as Merconi reaches the bus stop, he observes a black helicopter overhead. The Olympia City bus arrives and passengers begin to board. Merconi is the last passenger to board. Corner of Division Avenue and Harrison Avenue. Merconi exits the Olympia City bus and walks to the corner. Merconi then waits for the light to change. Merconi is now crossing the street and he sees a Goon Squad van which is waiting for the light to change. Merconi recognizes the man driving the van. Merconi waves to the man as he crosses the street. The man pretends he doesn't see Merconi. Merconi now walks over to the downtown bus stop to get his connecting bus. As Merconi waits for his connecting bus, he is approached by a white man wearing a baseball cap carrying a backpack. The stranger, aged approximately 45, wearing a green military jacket, engages Merconi in a conversation. "Can I bum a cigarette from you?" "I'm sorry, I don't smoke." "I can tell by your accent you're not from around here, are you?" "People around here don't take to strangers. Olympia is not a friendly town. You need to be careful, pal." "First off, we ain't pals, we ain't buddies, we ain't even friends. Are you threatening me?" "Let's just say I'm giving you a warning." Before Merconi can answer, two men appear out of nowhere. The three men stare directly into Merconi's eyes. "Now let me give you a message, for you and your boys, to take back to your superiors. I don't scare easy. You can tell them that." The downtown bus now arrives and Merconi waits on line with the other passengers to board the bus. The three men take a seat near the rear of the bus. Merconi watches the men like a hawk. When the bus reaches the downtown terminal, Merconi exits the bus with the rest of the passengers. Union Avenue and Capitol Way, downtown Olympia, Washington. The Subway's sandwich shop. Merconi is sitting down with Raina having lunch, eating a sandwich. A white man wearing sunglasses and a black derby hat, carrying a skateboard, enters the store and walks up to the counter. Merconi observes the man as he studies the menu. The man puts his foot into the large garbage container next to the counter and compresses the contents in the can. Merconi watches as the man sits down to eat his lunch. Merconi whispers to Raina, and they both observe the man. "Raina, there's something strange about that guy. Michael, are you sure you're not being a little paranoid because of what happened to you yesterday?" "I got a bad feeling, Raina, about that guy." "Michael, you need to relax and just eat your lunch." The man wearing the sunglasses finishes his meal and walks over to the counter and picks up a newspaper. As he walks past Merconi and Raina, he stares back at them. "Raina, I'm telling you, there's something about to go down." "Michael, how can you be so sure?" "Well, for one thing, Raina, he just changed seats and he's now sitting by the front window. I think he's a spotter." The man glances up from his newspaper and stares again at Merconi and Raina. "That guy's got to be wearing a wire. He's listening to our conversations, Raina." "What do we do, Michael?" "Well, Raina, as soon as we get outside, I'll tell you what we're going to do." "Okay, Michael." Raina and Merconi finish their meal and exit the Subway shop. Now on the corner of Union Avenue and Capitol Way, Merconi and Raina walk across the street to where her car is parked. Raina and Merconi both get into the car. Raina starts the engine and gets ready to pull away. Merconi motions with his right hand to wait. Merconi looks out the car window to see if it is safe to leave. Merconi sees a stranger with sunglasses and derby exiting the Subway shop. The man, the spotter with the derby, signals men riding on bicycles. The stranger then gets on a skateboard and speeds away. The two men on bicycles wearing helmets look into Raina's car. Merconi opens the car door and jumps out of the car holding a large container of water. "Raina, don't ask any questions. Just do what I say. I want you to drive to the corner and make a U-turn and meet me in the parking lot of a real estate building on 9th Street. "Okay, Michael, I'll do it, but be careful." Merconi closes the car door and waits until Raina pulls away from the curb. before walking away. Raina starts her engine and pulls away from the curb and makes a U-turn. As she waits at the traffic light to turn left onto Capitol Way, a red truck darts in front of her as she prepares to turn. Raina hits her brakes to avoid the collision. A bicyclist looks into Raina's car before speeding away. The bicyclist turns the corner and heads towards 9th Street. Merconi sees him and steps into the crosswalk. The bicyclist slams on his brakes to avoid hitting Merconi. Merconi throws the container of water all over the cyclist. The bicyclist makes a U-turn and quickly speeds away. Just a couple of minutes later, at the real estate office parking lot on 9th Street, Merconi walks over to Raina, who is standing next to her car. Raina is visibly shaken by her near-fatal experience. "Michael, somebody just tried to slam into my car." Merconi puts his arms around Raina and holds her tightly. Merconi takes his hand and touches Raina's face as he stares into her eyes. Merconi now kisses Raina on her forehead. Cooper's Glen Apartments. Raina and Merconi get out of the silver Toyota and begin walking towards her apartment. Merconi notices two men watching them from a nearby apartment. "Hey, Raina, there are two guys watching us. One of the guys was driving the Goon Squad van when I was harassed at the bus stop." "Are you sure, Michael?" "Absolutely, Raina. Do you have your digital camera with you?" "Yes, Michael, it's in my bag." "Good. I want you to take a picture of them and the van." Raina and Merconi turn and walk towards the two men who are having a cigarette in the doorway to their apartment. "Hey, how you doing there?" The two men ignore Merconi's greeting and avoid making eye contact. Raina takes photos of the men without their knowledge. Raina and Merconi continue walking. Raina checks her camera for the photos. "Oh, great, Michael. I got the photo of the men and the license plates." Merconi smiles as they continue walking around the Cooper Glen Apartments complex. Back at Raina's apartment, Raina is sitting at her computer in the living room. Merconi is standing next to her looking at the computer screen. "Michael, I downloaded the photos from the camera to my computer." Merconi studies the first photo before answering. "Yeah, Raina. The young guy with the black baseball cap? He's the same guy I saw downtown." "He looks Middle Eastern or Israeli, Michael." "Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Let's just name him Moishe." "Michael, take a look at the second guy and tell me who you think he looks like." Merconi studies the photo for a minute before answering. "He looks just like Saddam Hussein. The resemblance is remarkable." "Michael, you and I do think alike. That's exactly what I was thinking." Merconi and Raina laugh hysterically at the photos. Merconi and Raina's laughter is interrupted by the ring of Raina's cell phone. Raina picks up the phone and answers the call. "Hi, Bobby. How are you?" "No, Michael and I are both all right. Neither one of us were hurt. Thanks for checking on us, Bobby. We'll see you later." Raina puts down the phone and turns to speak to Merconi. "Michael, Bobby knows what happened to us today." "But how could he, Raina?" "He just does, Michael." "How do you think he does it, Raina?" "All I can tell you is that any time I've ever been sick, he's called me to ask me how I'm feeling. You know, Raina, I sensed his powers when we were at the sweat lodge." Raina raises her hand towards the ceiling and looks up. "Bobby's always told me that he's supposed to protect me. He's never told me why. I've never questioned Bobby about it." Raina shrugs her shoulders and smiles. Raina's apartment Saturday morning. Merconi is sitting in the dining room finishing off breakfast. Raina picks up the dishes and rinses them off in the sink before putting them into the dishwasher. "Michael, there's a mysterious place called the Mima Mounds that I'd like to take you to today. Some say the mounds are ancient Indian burial grounds." "You know, Raina, that sounds very interesting. So how far is it from here?" "It's only 20 miles from here. It's located in Little Rock, right off I-5 on Wattle Creek Road." "Well, anytime you're ready. I'm ready to go whenever you are, Raina." Raina grabs her bag from the front door. Merconi and Raina exit the apartment. 30 minutes later, Mima Mounds, Little Rock, Washington. Merconi and Raina get out of the silver Toyota in the Natural Area Preserve parking lot. They walk through a wooded area before reaching the prairie mounds. Merconi can see large cedar trees with mounds at their bases. He sees a nearby building with an observation deck. There are prairie mounds surrounding an open field. Raina stops at a large cedar tree and places both of her hands on it. She stands there for a while, meditating in silence. Merconi continues walking and gravitates to a large mound that is buried under a large tree. Merconi now walks up the incline to the top of the sacred mound, and he stands in front of the tree. After a few moments, he notices a red envelope on the ground. Merconi picks up the red Chinese envelope, opens the envelope, and pulls out 3 coins. Merconi studies the coins. Merconi then observes a black military helicopter overhead. He quickly puts the red envelope back into his pocket. Raina now observes the helicopter and walks over to where Merconi is standing. "Michael, looks like we've got company." "Yeah, it's Agon and O'Rourke again. They're back." Raina and Merconi hear shots being fired from a nearby firing range. It now begins to rain. "Michael, it's starting to rain." "Well, what do you want to do, Raina?" "Well, let's make our way back to the car, Michael." "That's a good idea. It looks like it could come down hard any moment." Raina and Merconi look out over the prairie as they hurry back to the car in a natural area preserve parking lot. Raina and Merconi get back into her vehicle. Raina starts the vehicle and proceeds to leave the Mima Mounds Preserve parking lot. Raina now turns left onto 128th Street Southwest and sees signs for the I-5 interstate. She then merges onto the interstate and heads north back towards Olympia. "Michael, something's wrong with the brakes." "Well, try tapping on the brakes, Raina." Raina taps on the brake pedal. "Michael, the pedal went completely to the floor." "You know, Raina, I can hear a grinding sound coming from the front wheels." "Michael, I just had the car inspected a couple of months ago and they told me the brakes were fine." "Raina, get in the right lane and drive slowly, please." "Okay, Michael." Raina checks her rearview mirror before changing lanes. "You know, Raina, this car isn't safe. Is there a place we can take the car to have it looked at?" "Yes, Michael. There's a place downtown called Les Schwab Automotive." "Good. Let's go straight there." Raina now drives slowly on Interstate 5 heading towards Olympia. She exits on Capitol Way and heads down on a city street driving towards the automotive parking lot. Raina now pulls her car into the automotive parking lot and the car screeches to a halt inches from the main window of the Les Schwab Automotive store. A white male auto mechanic wearing a blue uniform comes running out of the Les Schwab Automotive building. "Don't tell me! Let me guess! You're here because you need a new set of brakes!" Raina and Merconi now step out of the car. Raina hands the auto mechanic her car keys. Raina's cell phone rings and she answers the call. After a couple of seconds, she hangs up the cell phone. "Michael, that was Bobby McCoy. He asked if we were okay. He said that he needs to come over tonight." "Raina, how did he know that we were in danger?" Raina shrugs her shoulders and Merconi just stares. Later that afternoon, Raina's apartment. Bobby McCoy is shaking a ceremonial rattle and waving it around Raina and Merconi's body. Bobby then walks through each room of Raina's apartment, shaking the rattle.
"Can you get me an ashtray? I'm going to burn some sage."
Raina walks over to the kitchen counter and picks up an ashtray and hands it to Bobby. Bobby goes into his pocket and takes out a plastic bag. He pours the sage into the ashtray and lights it with a match.
"There are people who are trying to cause you both harm."
"Can you tell me why, Bobby?"
"Michael, they want something that you have."
"What is it that we're supposed to have, Bobby?"
"You'll know it when you see it."
"Bobby, that sounds like a riddle."
"The walls have ears. We need to talk outside."
Bobby, Raina, and Merconi exit the apartment. Merconi is holding a large plastic fork in his right hand. Outside of the Cooper's Glen apartment complex, Bobby McCoy, Raina, and Merconi begin walking around the development. As they begin walking, Bobby observes his surroundings.
"There are many people living here that are watching you."
"Do you know who they are, Bobby?"
"Raina, I will show you."
Bobby stops in front of the apartment building directly across the street and begins by saying,
"There is a woman with blonde hair and a man that had been following you when you leave to go to work.
You know, I always see their car leaving when I go to work, Bobby. Bobby stops in front of the next set of apartment buildings and begins by saying,
These are 2 men who live here in this apartment who have been listening to all of your conversations.
You know, I knew it, Bobby. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Raina, you must listen to Merconi. He knows what he's talking about.
Michael, you are right, Michael. You are right all the time. The door now opens to the apartment across the street, and both of the men who had been watching Merconi and Raina walk outside to have a cigarette. Bobby, Raina, and Merconi continue walking.
Those 2 men, they have been listening to your conversations. They are curious. They want to know what you are doing.
Then they must know why you're here, Bobby.
Indians make them nervous.
Merconi turns and faces the men and shakes the large plastic fork in their direction. The men stare back with fear in their eyes, and then Merconi yells out, "Boom shakalaka-laka, boom shakalaka-laka, boom shakalaka-laka, boom!" The 2 men quickly put out their cigarettes and head back into their apartment. Bobby, McCoy, Raina, and Merconi try to hold back their laughter. Would you look at their faces? They look like 2 deer that have been caught in the headlights, Michael.
Michael, you are a practical joker.
Yeah, Bobby. Just call me Merconi Wolf. Bobby, McCoy, Raina, and Merconi all turn to make sure no one is watching them. When they see that no one is watching, they all break out into hysterical laughter. Cooper's Glen apartment complex early the next morning. Merconi is taking a walk and sees the blonde woman getting into their car, preparing to drive away. Merconi quickly walks over to the apartment complex exit and stops in the middle of the street, blocking the path of the couple's car. Merconi stands in front of the car like a statue. The couple stares at one another in disbelief. Merconi now slowly walks up to the driver's window and smiles. The car proceeds slowly to the exit and stops. The couple takes another look back at Merconi. Merconi now walks over to the couple's apartment and sprinkles a handful of Cheerios in front of their door, leaving his calling card. Raina's apartment, midday. Merconi looks out the dining room window and sees a U-Haul moving truck parked in front of the couple's apartment. Merconi takes Raina's digital camera and goes outside. As he's outside, Merconi sees the couple loading things into the back of their car. As Merconi gets closer, he takes out the camera and takes a picture of the man and the woman. The woman is a bodybuilder, age 40, and she catches Merconi as he snaps the photo. "What are you doing taking our pictures?" Merconi points to the roof of their apartment. "I'm taking photos of the 2 old crows on your roof." The couple run back into the apartment. Merconi walks back into Raina's apartment. Raina's apartment later that afternoon. Merconi looks out the dining room window and sees the man bodybuilder loading the U-Haul moving truck. Merconi watches as the blonde woman is carrying things over to the dumpster that sits in front of Raina's apartment. Merconi now walks out of Raina's apartment, opens the gate to the dumpster, and picks up a microwave from on top of the dumpster. He carries the microwave back up to the apartment. "Hey, Raina, I have a present for you." Raina walks out from her bedroom and checks out the microwave. "Where did you get that, Michael?" "The couple across the street left it by the dumpster with the trash." "This microwave is brand new, Michael. I wonder what else they've thrown out." "I don't know, Raina. I'm going to go downstairs and find out." Merconi walks out of Raina's apartment, opens the gate to the dumpster, and Merconi lifts the lid to the dumpster. Merconi finds a stereo system with speakers. Merconi places the equipment in front of the gate. Merconi then carries the stereo equipment up to Raina's apartment. "Check this out, Raina. I've got a complete surround sound stereo system with a DVD player. Michael, it looks brand new." "Yeah, Raina. I even found all the wires to hook it up." "Michael, why are they throwing away brand new electronic equipment?" "I don't know, Raina, but I think it may have something to do with me taking their pictures today." "Bobby was right about that couple, Michael." "Yeah, I'm going back downstairs to see what else I can find." "Okay, Michael." Raina stands by the front door and watches Michael as he rummages through the open dumpster. Michael bends over into the dumpster, hanging upside down. The couple returns to the dumpster and sees Merconi dangling. The couple gets back into their car and drive away. Merconi sees the couple as they speed away. Merconi picks up a stack of papers and then carries the papers back up to Raina's apartment. Merconi puts the stack of papers on the kitchen counter. He then goes through the stack of papers one by one. "Raina, would you take a look at this?" Merconi hands Raina a stack of photos to look through. "Michael, these photos are of people that live in our apartment complex." "Keep looking, Raina. Let me know if there's anyone you recognize." Raina searches through the pile of photos and finds the photos of people she recognizes. "Michael, they've got our photos too." "Yeah, I know." "That's why they came back to the dumpster, Michael." "Yeah, they didn't want us to find them, Raina." Raina and Merconi are interrupted by the knock on the front door. Raina does not open the door. She goes over to the bedroom window to see who is standing outside her door. "Michael, it's the same man living in the next apartment that Bobby said was watching us at the door. He wants you to open the door so he can see exactly what I took out of the dumpster." "Michael, they'll probably be back to check the dumpster later." "Yeah, when they do, I'll have a surprise waiting for them." "I'm sure you will, Michael." Merconi hooks up the stereo surround system and places it into Raina's entertainment center. "Raina, can you hand me a CD so I can test out the system?" Raina hands Merconi a Phil Oak CD to play. Merconi puts the CD into the tray and hits the play button. "Wow, listen to that sound." "Wow, Michael, that sound is amazing." "Yeah, isn't it, Raina?" "Boy, Michael, Christmas came a little early this year." Raina and Merconi sit down in the living room and listen to the song playing on the surround sound system. Raina's apartment, 11 p.m. later that evening. Merconi and Raina are sitting in the living room. Merconi bends over to whisper something into Raina's ear. Raina gets up and returns with a rope and scissors. Merconi sneaks down the stairs of the apartment. Merconi ties the rope around the dumpster gate. Merconi makes a knot and cuts the rope with the scissors. Merconi then returns back to the apartment. Raina's apartment, 12 midnight. Merconi and Raina look out the window and see a strange car parked next to the dumpster. A man gets out of the car and walks into the apartment of the bodybuilder couple. Merconi now whispering, "That guy is going to wait until you and I are asleep before he tries to look into the dumpster, Raina." "Boy, won't he be surprised, Michael, when he can't open the gate." "Yeah, Raina, I can't wait till I see the reaction on his face." Raina and Merconi cover their mouths as they break out in laughter. Raina's apartment, 3 a.m. A shadow of the man can be seen as he tries to open the dumpster gate. The gate is making a clanging sound. Raina and Merconi are standing by the window laughing hysterically as the man is unable to force open the dumpster gate. The man jumps back into his car and quickly drives away from the apartment complex. Raina's apartment the next evening. Merconi hangs up the cell phone and turns to talk to Raina, who is sitting in the living room. "Raina, my mother has been rushed to the hospital with pneumonia, and my brother is due to be discharged from the hospital, and I'm the only one who can go to sign him out." "When are you leaving, Michael?" "I'll be leaving tomorrow, Raina." "I'll drive you to the station, Michael." Cooper's Glen apartment complex the next morning. Merconi is loading his luggage into Raina's car. Merconi now takes out a box of Cheerios from his backpack, and he walks over to Moisha and Saddam's door. Merconi sprinkles the Cheerios in front of the door. He then sprinkles the Cheerios in front of the door to the Goon Squad van. Merconi then throws the empty box of Cheerios in the dumpster. Raina watches Merconi disposing the Cheerios box. "Michael, what are you doing?" "Raina, Merconi Wolf strikes again. I just wanted to leave something for all of them to remember me by." Merconi and Raina get in the car and drive away. Bushwick Public Library. Merconi is standing talking to Officer Lopez, who's been listening attentively to the entire story. "Michael, whatever happened to the coins you found at the Mima Mounds?" Merconi pulls out a white envelope from his coat pocket. "I put it in a self-addressed white envelope and sent it to myself in New York." Merconi now opens the envelope and pulls out a red Chinese envelope within the other envelope and shows the coin to Officer Lopez. It's a 1943 Franklin D. Roosevelt dime. Yes, Lopez, but Roosevelt didn't die until April 1945. The United States Mint doesn't create a coin until after the death of a president. This coin is not supposed to exist. Wow, Merconi. This could explain why you're being followed. Officer Lopez looks around the library before handing back the Franklin D. Roosevelt dime. Yeah, Lopez, I'm going into the city today to see a rare coin dealer. Merconi places the coin back into his pocket and waves goodbye to Officer Lopez before exiting the library. Stack's Rare Coin Dealers, West 57th Street, New York City. Merconi opens the front door to the shop and walks to a display counter where a man is standing. Walter Shelby, age 45, with dark hair and glasses, wearing a brown suit with matching tie, warmly greets Merconi. My name is Walter Shelby. How may I help you? I have a coin that I would like to have appraised. I can help you with that. May I see the coin? Merconi takes the coin from his pocket and shows it to the coin dealer. The coin dealer studies it for a moment and then asks, Where did you get this coin, sir? Why is that important? There are 5 United States Mint facilities in the United States. None of them use a B marking on its coins. Can you excuse me for a moment? I need to talk to one of our experts. Merconi takes the coin from the dealer and puts it back into his pocket. Merconi watches as Walter Shelby talks to an older man standing in the rear of the shop. The older man picks up the telephone and immediately calls someone. Merconi senses trouble and quickly exits the front door of the shop. New York Public Library, 42nd Street. Second floor information desk. Merconi is talking to a woman at the information desk. Can you please tell me where the rare books department is located? It's across the hall, sir, in room 202. Thanks. Merconi walks into the rare books department. A librarian hands Merconi a book. Merconi reads the book and then takes out his cell phone camera and clicks a photo. Merconi runs down the stairs to the first floor and exits the library. Once outside of the New York Public Library, Merconi walks to the corner to hail a taxicab. He sees the Flynn brothers. He looks across the street and sees Tudia Muldoon running towards him. Merconi takes off running down 42nd Street. He now sees a black helicopter flying directly overhead. There are crowds of people walking on the sidewalk. Merconi cuts through Bryant Park. He sees the 4 agents looking around, talking to one another. Merconi sprinkles Cheerios as he runs down through the park and to the subway station. When he gets to the subway station, he sprinkles Cheerios on the steps. Merconi then swipes the subway pass at the turnstile and runs down the stairs to catch the train. The train pulls into the station and Merconi boards the train. Merconi laughs as the crowded train leaves the station. Knoll Street Apartments. Merconi is sitting in his bedroom on the computer wearing a set of headphones, listening to a radio program. Merconi takes off the headphones and picks up his cell phone to make a telephone call. Hi, Raina. It's Michael. How's everything in New York, Michael? Not good, Raina. I've been followed by agents and helicopters all day. Do you remember when I asked you where I could mail a letter? Yes, Michael. Well, when we went to the Mima Mounds, I found a red Chinese envelope with coins in it. You mean like the coins Mel Waters found on his property? Exactly, Raina. I didn't make the connection until I listened to the Mel's Hole CD again. Oh, you mean the one that I sent you? I had a feeling that CD would have something to do with your research regarding the Mel's Hole hollow earth theory. After listening to the CD again, I remembered the letter that I mailed to myself in New York. When I looked at the coin, I noticed that it was the same 1943 Franklin D. Roosevelt dime that Mel Waters talked about in his appearance on Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. That's the same dime Mel Waters found in his property. Yes, that's exactly right, Raina. When I discovered that, I took the dime to the Stack's coin dealer, and they acted very strangely when I showed it to them. The man wanted to know where I had found it. The next thing I knew, I was being chased by agents when I came out of the New York Public Library. Michael, they know you have the coin. Yes, Raina, they certainly do. The Roosevelt dime even has the B marking on it. They're going to try to confiscate the coin, Michael, just like they did to Mel Waters, and the guys who visited him were Treasury officials. This coin, Raina, may be proof of a parallel universe. Richard Hoagland called during the original broadcast and said normal time travel could not explain what Mel Waters talked about, but there is one thing that could, and that was a parallel universe. That's exactly right, Raina. Yes, I agree. A parallel universe. Hoagland went on to say that there could be a universe in which similar things occurred, but with different outcomes. A lot of our best scientists are saying this may very well be the case. You know, Raina, there could be a universe in which the Nazis won the war. Yes, Michael, and the B marking on the coin could stand for Berlin. Yes, Raina, and that might explain Admiral Byrd's secret diary regarding meeting advanced beings with flying machines in the center of the earth. Michael, that could also explain why someone didn't want you to search for the tunnel under Mount Shasta that leads to an ancient Lemurian civilization. Yes, Raina, this is all making perfect sense now. Michael, you are connecting the dots. That's what they're afraid of. That's why they've gone to great lengths to try and stop you from finding out the truth. Yes, Raina. I know now what Bobby McCoy meant when he said, "You'll know the answer when you see it." McConey picks up the 1943 Franklin D. Roosevelt dime and holds it in the palm of his hand and stares at it for a moment. Michael, the answer is right in front of you. Yes, Raina. The way to the answer is to evaluate everything and everyone. Don't accept it just because it is true. Accept 50% of what you hear and investigate the rest. Yes, Michael. It seems like your journey has taken you a long way. Raina, I have traveled many miles and have met so many beautiful people along the way. I have discovered that we have more in common than I could have ever imagined. I have gained valuable insight from my time spent with you and Bobby McCoy. The life lesson experiences I have gained are priceless. You know, Michael, I am very touched. Raina, we have come here with the answers. We blind ourselves to the answers. Most people spend a lifetime and never figure it out. Michael, that is very profound wisdom. Raina, the answers are within all of us. All we have to do is choose to see. It is so complex yet so simple. You are what you believe. I believe the war is over. I believe that sunshine will follow rain and everything will work out. Your beliefs are what you are. At the Nisqually Reservation, Bobby McCoy is standing in front of a large crowd gathered holding a bullhorn in his right hand. Bobby looks around before addressing the crowd.
Now hear this. Will the last Native American turn off the lights on the reservation before leaving?
Fort Lewis Main Gate Visitor Center. At the Fort Lewis base, helicopters can be seen throughout the base lined up in formation. The Flynn brothers are throwing metal into a pile. Aegon and O'Rourke are holding a shovel. Tuddy and Muldoon are collecting metal. There are signs posted that read "Scrap metal for sale." Woody Wilcox can be seen standing over the men. Woody Wilcox has returned from Alabama with the chip removed from his head, and he is now in charge of all the military facilities.
Listen up, you maggots! I'm in charge now. Don't you knuckleheads understand? I can't hear you. Yes, sir.
Washington, D.C., Capitol Building of the United States. A large crowd is gathered at the Lincoln Monument. Robert Merconi is wearing glasses, dressed in a suit. Robert Merconi is holding up his right hand. Jerry the Super, Officer Lopez, and Hammer are standing in the front of the crowd, waiting for Robert's speech. Robert Merconi steps up to the podium to address the large crowd gathered to witness his first inaugural speech.
As your newly elected president, I promise to stop all wars and bring all the troops stationed abroad home. It's about time we mind our own damn business. And now that I'm president, I plan to eliminate taxes from A to Z. No more automobile tax, no more city tax, no more tax on your driver's license, no more tax on education, no more federal tax, no more sales tax, no more tax on YOU, no more taxes. Every child will have a free college education. Every American will have free health insurance. Cigarettes will be now 50 cents a pack. Gasoline prices will be $1 a gallon. Screw them big oil companies. The buck stops here now that I'm president. As soon as the buck stops here, the Federal Reserve Bank is now closed. The new government will back its currency with gold and silver. We will reinstate Executive Order number 11110 that was signed June 4, 1963 by President Kennedy. And while I'm on the subject of closings, we're going to close the National Security Agency, the FBI, the CIA, and Homeland Security. And lastly, all the individuals who are responsible for the surveillance of my brother Michael Merconi will be going to prison. Somebody's got to go to prison. Somebody's got to pay. Somebody's got to go to prison.
Mount Shasta, California. There are signs posted that read, "Welcome to Mount Shasta." There's a large crowd gathered wearing backpacks. Merconi and Rayner are standing in front of Mount Shasta. Merconi prepares to address a large crowd that is gathered there. We are about to make history today. Our civil engineers have found the entrance that leads to the tunnel that will take us to the lost civilization of Lemuria. Merconi is interrupted by Rayner. Rayner points to a man in the crowd wearing a beard. Michael, either that's Willie Nelson in the crowd or Mel Waters has joined the expedition and given someone from the Men in Black the finger.